for so many years, like anytime I would try and put myself back together and try and get something going, something else would come along and just fucking knock me back down. The reason my family did this thing was because they believed in me and that I could do it, and I was doing it, and I had it. And now it's gone. Like, now I can't even find it. The movie is undone, you know? I don't my story, the arc isn't done yet, but I really feel like I'm on the come up.
But it's gonna be fucking good.
Oh, it's gonna be fucking good. Hold my hand, take me in, let me know I have a place again.
Please remain seated.
Welcome everybody to the Rodriguez Project here at Mastermynd Media. Devon Werkheiser at the table today.
Good to see you, Mark.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right, man. I'm feeling all right.
If this was 0 to fully caffeinated, where are you at right now?
Yeah, I've already had a cold brew today, so this is number 2. So I'm at like 60% right now. You know?
Okay. Well, we got a lot to talk about. We knew each other first from acting class.
Yes, sir.
And
That's right.
and all right. So when I see you thriving in your new podcast and everything too, and something I noticed back when we saw each other again on Sophie's POVs, you've always been like, you're deep and very profound with everything you say. And I was wondering, is that something that comes natural, that you or are you a deep thinker always, so you're kind of prepared to dive deep, or are you able to articulate something right off the bat and be like, and know how you feel about it, or dive into that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, it's a little bit of both. It's also like chicken or the egg too, because like, I mean, I've always been in the arts, which, if you start studying acting, you know, it deepens you as a person. But was I drawn to acting because I was already like that? You know, was I already interested in the inner world and kind of what connects humanity and emotions and why people do things? Like, or like it is that chicken or the egg thing. But then as I've grown up, man, I don't know. I feel like on my podcast, I feel like in my life, and even with my friends, we weave in our conversations between really deep reflection on our lives, because those are the people I'm drawn to, and that's how I live, and into silly ass, you know, hilarious bullshit, because that's also what I care about. Like, I think life needs both. I am a deep thinker. I do spend a lot of time in my own head. But I think you got to balance that with like levity. Yeah. Because I know plenty of smart, deep thinkers who are overly serious, and then you're missing something in life if you're not balancing that depth with some levity and like humanity and hilarity.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I love how you even answered the question right here based on how deep you went on that. I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's the kind of thing, and I love, and it's tough for me sometimes, even with the small talk now. And I found myself, you know, having small talk and being in my head like, why am I even talking about this right now, whatever. And I started using those opportunities to kind of dive deeper into that person's story. And that comes from like acting class too, versus like, hey, how's the weather and all that kind of stuff. Asking about them and almost interviewing them in a sense of like understanding who that person is. Yeah. And then that also informs me on more about the world as well.
Definitely. And you'll find people love to talk about themselves. If you're just bouncing back and forth between small talk, and there's a time and place for that. Sure. But if you'd be surprised if you want to ask someone about their life, they'll answer. Yeah. You just got to have the questions and be willing to listen, and then they'll go. If you're not interjecting with all your own fucking stories and the next thing you want to say, like, it's an amazing thing. You'd be surprised how much people actually want to open up about their lives, but aren't given the chance.
Yeah, nobody's really asking them how they. And that's what my first acting coach ever was like. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "Why do you ask that question? Nobody actually gives you a real answer." And I was like, "Oh,
you're like, damn."
19. I'm like, oh.
I mean, it's just a starting place, man.
Yeah. But And so one thing on this, and I think you're the first person I really want to do this with, because as we created the Rodriguez Project, it being something like live a life worth writing a movie about, is the foundation that I think in life taking risks and everything as well. But I wanted to start something. I got, every film that I write, I start with an outline, right? And you write too as well, right?
Yep.
And now with the new music, which we're gonna
Good Valley. We'll talk about.
But say your movie, your life as a movie, or maybe a movie that is inspired by your life. Starts off with 100-year-old you.
Okay.
In a voiceover. And they're describing the opening scene of your film, right? The opening image. Where and what do you see as your opening scene?
By the time I'm 100, it might change. I might start the movie at a point in my life that I haven't reached yet, It might start with my kids. It might start with some shit that has yet to come. But as of right now, it has to be moving to LA and kind of like booking Neds, man. Like that's where the legend of me begins, There's my personal life, there's my family, there's stuff, but like where the overall story and one of the main themes and waves and dreams of my life, it's moving to LA when I was a kid with my family to come pursue acting, to come pursue a life that's not normal, to come pursue a life of dreams. And yeah, that would have to be where it starts.
And what age was that?
I was 12. I was 11 the first pilot season I came to LA, and then 12 I booked Neds.
So what did that month before getting the audition look like?
I mean, look, this is a long time ago, and I was a kid. So there's like, there's me now in my 30s, and the pursuits I'm on now. And they've never stopped, but I feel like I'm in a new chapter. Like now I'm really in my adult life and in my adult pursuit of my dreams and creating kind of my life as a movie, right? There was the first wave of it when I was a kid, and I didn't know any better, man. It all happened really organically. Like I saw movies in Georgia when I was a kid. I would recite them back to my parents. They're like, that's funny. Do you want to do community theater? And I was like, yeah. And then I did community theater. And then I had a great time in there. And the heads of the community theater were like, he's really good. He should meet an agent in Georgia. And this was before Georgia was Hollywood East. Georgia was a right to work state, which meant no union work. So it was a much smaller industry there. Kind of impossible. But got an agent there, booked a couple commercials. They were like, this kid's good. And then I booked a movie out of Georgia, which led those agents to say, hey, you should go to LA and do something called pilot season, which is audition for stuff that's real in LA for like 3 months at a time. And so that happened, and my parents sat me down, and they were like, in Georgia, this was before we ever went, they were like, hey, we got to talk about something. I was 10 years old, and it was like after school, and it was all serious, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like, so, your agent here thinks you're good enough to go to LA to audition, maybe do TV shows or movies. You'd have to leave school. Your mom and you would go to LA and pursue this at a time. Like, what do you think about that? And there was like this really serious talk. And I get it now, because for them as adults was a huge decision, like a life-changing decision. It would change a lot of things. And I get kind of the weight that they were bringing the decision to me with, but I was a kid. I was like, why are we talking about this so seriously? Like, sounds great. Like, what do you mean? Yes, it sounds awesome. But yeah, so got out there, booked a few things, and then the second year we went out there, I booked Ned.
Okay.
So it was this organic process. So even for me, I mean, the month before the Ned's audition, I was working with a coach, just getting prepped for the audition.
Yeah.
And then there were rounds of callbacks and booked it. But really, it just came out of this like organic unfolding of my parents recognizing something natural in me and giving me every opportunity to succeed with those natural kind of inclinations I had. And the older I get, the more I'm surprised by it. The more I'm so grateful to them and just blown away that that's what they chose to do with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gave you that opportunity. And one thing I noticed too on your Instagram, work harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did that come from? So is that, because obviously like
Werkheiser, work harder. Yeah.
But yeah, where did that come from? And because I'm a big fan of pushing people to work harder.
Yes.
And how many people don't work as hard as they actually need to make their lives,
make it happen. Yes.
come true. So
yeah. So first it was honestly Chris and Kyle Massey. They're actors also in LA. It came from them. Like Kyle would just call me work harder. Like this was like years ago. We were teenagers. It just what's up, work harder. So he would just call me that for a while, and then so when it came to like starting Instagram, I just like threw up work harder instead of Werkheiser, and it's kind of stuck. And I've laughed at it throughout my life because there have been times when I have needed to work harder, and I just look at that handle and I'm like, wow, I like played myself. Like I'm like pointing at myself some of the time.
But even seeing like from working so young and like I mean obviously long hours and everything too.
Yes, sure.
You've already embodied that.
I got work ethic. I also love to do nothing, and I need to do nothing for much of my life. But I like working hard when it's on something that I really love, or where the success of it is clear. It's hard when you're pursuing something that like the success of it is unclear. It's hard when like the goal is kind of ambiguous because you don't know where to put all that energy. But when it's like, I got to get this record done, or like, I got to record my podcast and edit it and get it out. Like when the goal is clear, I love like not eating and not sleeping and just like being an idiot.
Yeah, it's a gift and a curse, and that's something we talk about a lot too. She's probably looking at me going, yeah.
I resonate with you, Devon. I love to do nothing. I need that do nothing time. And then when I have like a clear vision of exactly what I'm doing, like I work hard as hell.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what
I think you need both.
Yes.
And I'm getting better at saying, okay, yeah, we do need to do nothing. And that's one thing over time, my body was like, bro, what do you, my brain was like, let's keep going. And my body was like, we're dying, bro.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And it takes me something that really draws a line in the sand, like, hey, no, now this is unhealthy. And then I'm like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
Stupid man brain.
Yeah, I think
math.
Yeah, I think people struggle in that hustle culture. You can get real caught up in like every day needs to be productive. I heard fucking Rob Dyrdek on a podcast like describe his like time blocked life, like up at 4:30, whatever the fuck. Every half hour was like time blocked for how he's optimizing his time. And granted, man is super productive. Man's is super successful. Man's has built shit that like, just prints him money. It's insane. He's impressive as a businessman. But when I heard the description of his life and his day and how it's mapped out on a calendar, I was like, nope. Not for me.
I think
not for me.
Some of that. And that's where because I'm very structured, and his is what does he say? It's like I forget what he calls it.
Yeah, there was
like,
a name for it.
But yeah, it's really impressive even how he got started and like what he's built. And
Incredible.
It makes sense. However, that's why everybody's whatever works for you, do that. And you don't have to do that just to be successful.
Exactly. I mean, like, have your dream of success. If you want to be Rob Dyrdek, CEO, 12 businesses, time block days, up at 4:30, in bed at 9:30, every day, like, cool, man. That's fun for you. That sounds lame as shit to me. Like, I don't want that. But that's me.
But that's
because I have my dream of success and my dream of life. And part of my dream of success is weeks where I do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Work hard so you don't have
work
to work
hard
at all.
so I don't have to work some of the time.
Yeah, follow him on TikTok. Devon works some of the time.
Work some of the time.
It's a balance.
I cannot.
It's a balance.
Life's a balance.
Yeah. So you've really figured yourself out, it feels like. And obviously when we get in our 30s, we start saying, oh,
that's
okay.
That's the thing, man. I feel at a very good place in my life now. My 20s were a journey. My turning 30 was a journey because it was like during the pandemic. So for anyone who turned 30 in the pandemic, I mean, Bo Burnham made a song about it. Like, it was an intense time to have that decade turn, you know, and not really be able to be around people and kind of be looking out at the world and not feeling great about it. And then particularly at that time of my life, shit wasn't going for me at the time 2 years ago. Like I was still struggling to get a foothold again on my dreams, on my career, on my purpose, on my life. And so turning 30 was painful, but but in the last couple years, yeah, man, I feel like at a good place with myself. I know who I am and I know what I want.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick little break from the show to talk about our amazing sponsors, XYKO. XYKO.co is their website, and XYKO, XYKO.go is their social media platforms. But we're so stoked about this partnership. This is their first product. It's this minimalistic design for their wallet. I've had several of these, but this design has been the easiest, like a little lighter flick, boom, right back in your pocket. Minimalistic, modernized, and just everywhere I go, people ask me where the hell I got this from, and it's XYKO, XYKO.co. But what does that mean? The underlying desire to live your life, to make things happen, and that's exactly what we're about at Mastermynd. So we are so stoked to be working with them. So check them out, XYKO.co. Also, Ink Detroit. Ink Detroit make this hat. They make all of our merchandise. They do hats, they do t-shirts, they do hoodies, you name it, they do it. And they work in Detroit, but they ship to all over the nation as well. So please check them out, inkdetroit.com, and Ink Detroit on all social media platforms as well. So if you're a business or you're a brand and you need to get stuff made on a bunch of different kinds of clothing, check them out. They will take care of you, and let them know that Mastermynd sent you. Lastly, before we get back in the show, what do we do at Mastermynd? People see Mastermynd Media like, who the hell, what is this? Is this just a podcast studio? Partially, yes, we do podcasts here at Mastermynd. We're in Los Angeles. This is one of our newest ventures, but social media management, graphic design, logos, pitch decks, you name it. We do a digital production, interviews. Check us out on Mastermynd. That's MASTERMYND media.com. But if you're in Los Angeles and you're looking for a place to do podcasts, yes, we do that. And we're so stoked to be doing podcasts. There's so many cool people in Los Angeles, and the conversations that happen at this table, it's been amazing. So if you're looking for somebody, you're looking for a partner to the digital world, look no further. Please give us a call. We'd love to help you out. That's mastermyndmedia.com. And let's get back into the show. And where does music fit in that?
Music's so beautiful, man. My journey with music. So for people who don't know, like I act, write a podcast, and I've made music since I was 15. I started learning guitar on Neds and was signed to Universal for a few years after Neds. We never made a record. I got out of there. And then for 15 years, I was making independent, as an independent singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
But that whole time, like every song I wrote was on guitar. I had a deep connection to all my music. During the pandemic, I was making a ton of music, releasing music, kind of building a little Patreon community. I was doing Instagram lives, playing guitar all the time, like just doing my singer-songwriter, like soul stuff. And then just something happened in my creative process in 2021 where it all just died for a time. Like my connection to my own music, the path I was on with music, I just felt it, man. I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to play guitar. I don't want to write songs. I'm bored of all of it, and I don't feel connected to it. And I just went on this couple-year journey of trusting my own creative process, which I've grown to know and listen to. So I was never worried about it. Friends of mine were worried about it. They were like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on with music? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean you're not making music? You're not... Because for years I was doing that, and I was like, I don't know. Just right now, I don't feel it. And yeah, so it was 2 years. Over that time, I was just asking myself deeper questions about like, why do I, like, what is this I'm going through? Why do I not feel connected to my music? What would make me feel connected to music? What do I want to do? And slowly this vision started to form of my current project, which is Good Vlly. Slowly this vision started to form of like, I've made singer-songwriter stuff for however many years. I love my music, but it's not the music I fuck with. It's not the music I put on playlists. Like when I finish listening to a song of mine on Spotify and then it goes to the algorithm to play music like this.
Yeah.
I don't fuck with that music.
Interesting.
I don't want to listen to what's next. I want to listen to my song, but then what it gives me, I don't care about it.
And that's how you're feeling now, or
No, that's
were you
how
feeling?
I was feeling.
Yeah.
About
no,
my
I
music.
know. I mean,
yeah.
but like, so when you were writing those songs back then,
Yeah.
did you kind of fuck with that music, or was it?
The music was always coming from me. Like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
truthful and emotional and like real for me. I fucked with it in terms of it's what was coming out of me on the guitar, and then I would get it produced, and like I fucked with it enough. I love my music. Like, hey, go listen to it, guys. It's beautiful. It's good stuff.
Great, yeah.
But in terms of like what moves me musically, it's not what I was making.
Yeah.
It's more like James Blake, it's Bon Iver, it's Tom Misch, Jordan Rakei. Like it's a whole different sound that I had never really ventured into musically. So when I was making no music, I just started to have this idea of like, all right, well, how do I try and bridge that gap? How do I try and get into that music that I fuck with?
Yeah.
And so I had to start producing for my first time. Like I never gave I would just write songs on guitar and get them produced. I never got in there on Logic and like started demoing stuff. But in order to discover what my sound was, I had to start doing that. And so, yeah, I've been learning how to produce. I created some songs, some demos. I brought them to a friend and we produced them together. And Good Valley I've never been more satisfied with an artistic project that I've ever made, man.
It's so good.
Thanks.
Yeah, we were listening to it earlier as well.
yeah.
And so wait, where did Good Valley come from?
The name?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Not everything has a big story. Look, I needed a name that wasn't me. I needed a new name, and there was a whole process that led me to Good Valley, which now that I've put it out, turns out I chose a name that's like impossible to search because there's a backslash in it and people don't know what it is, but that's cool. I actually don't mind that.
People will
like
find it.
Subtract is one of my favorite artists, and that's SBTRKT. Like no one knows what that is unless you know Subtract.
Yeah.
So it kind of became something like that where I actually wanted it to be a little obscure so that the music is the music. If you know it and if it gets you, you'll learn the name Good Valley. And if not, you're going to be like, who and what is that?
Yeah.
And I kind of did want to distance it from from me, because now I'm on podcasts every week. I've got mine Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm releasing so much of personal me. That's Devon. That's me. Good Valley is artistic expression. It's something else. It's like a different persona, kind of, you know?
Yeah, no, it makes sense, and listening to it versus listening to your old stuff, it was like it did feel like the current version of you now, and like it just felt new, and it felt like something different, and it's a vibe across the board.
Yeah.
Was it as you first start, you open Logic for the first time, and you're like, okay, well here we go. Was like, what were you drawn to as far as sounds, or were you using inspirations, or you just like letting it flood out of you?
Well, it's like every song, like I said before, I would write on guitar. So that started with some chords and then a little singing, a little melody. And I was like, all right, I'm bored of how I write. So I need to write different. So for me, it came down to beats and synths. So there's sounds I'm drawn to for sure. Mm-hmm. Like there's certain kind of lo-fi, hip hop, 808, like there's certain sounds I'm drawn to in terms of beats, and then there's certain sounds I'm drawn to in terms of like indie electronic synths. I have a Moog Sub Fatty. It's like this crazy synth bass that's just like makes the fucking greatest sounds, and just playing around on that is amazing. So it was like, cool, I'm gonna start with a beat, a groove, and then build some atmosphere with synths, and we're gonna start there.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And just same thing for me as a singer-songwriter. I've used it more therapeutically in the last maybe 7 years after playing live a few times a week for 4 or 5 years. Then I love that I have the ability to play guitar and write and let my, whether it's good or bad feelings come out and just like use it therapeutically. But I also look at myself now and think, if I were to pick up guitar which Molly, who's here too, she just picked up guitar after playing piano for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know how hard it is at this stage to find time to learn something new. So to dive in and start even learning how to produce yourself and to find the sound that does work and that's like, oh, that's fucking dope. I just commend you to make that happen.
It's daunting, you know. Like I learned a lot and spent time getting better at a lot of things when I was younger. But yeah, when you get in your 30s and you got a busy life and all that shit, like, yeah, it is daunting to take on a new task because you know how much time you have to put in to get good. and that can just stop you from starting anything new because you're like, well, I don't have 10,000 hours to learn fucking Logic at this point in my life, you know? But I kind of had to in order to find this new sound. And luckily, I have an incredible producing partner. So what I lack technically, I can bring to him and we'll make it sound a lot better, but I can lay out kind of the foundations and some of the sounds. So that's actually been a saving grace is I actually have the freedom to let a lot of it be messy in my production because I'm going to go to someone who helps me clean it up.
Sure.
But I've done the groundwork.
Yeah. And so far you've released 3 songs.
I've released 3 songs. My EP, including those 3 songs, will drop on October 24th.
Yes.
With the lead single of the EP is called Touching, and I cannot fucking wait for people to hear it, dude. I actually need to start promoting it. Well, this is part of it, but I need to start promoting it on TikTok, but I've been distracted. But it's people aren't ready. People aren't ready for Touching.
Are you thinking about performing live at any point?
Oh, hell yeah. However, with my old shit, like I could just get up and play guitar anywhere. It'd be easy. Like in 2019, I opened for Seal. It was incredible.
Oh, wow.
And it was just me and the guitar because I knew like I got that.
Yeah.
I can play, if I don't have a band, I can play just me and guitar. Good Valley, I have no idea yet what the live setup is going to require. I'm going to need to buy gear. Like, it's electronic heavy. I'm going to need stuff to process my vocals live. Like, it's not, it's not, you know, it's got to be.
It's a whole production.
Exactly.
It's a whole production.
Like, it really is. It's a production. It's a sound. So I absolutely want to play live, and I can't wait. But I'm going to have to do some work to even know what that looks like, and I haven't started yet.
Yeah, it's so dope what you can do these days too, and like I mean, even seeing like what Ed Sheeran does and like his one-man show, and so yeah, we look forward to seeing exactly like what you come up with because it's gonna be dope.
Dude, that Ed Sheeran shit was majorly inspiring when I was doing my singer-songwriter stuff. When I saw that he played the Hollywood Bowl with no band, that's an 18,000 seat venue, and for him to just go like, yeah, I got it. Like I don't like to not have the mentality like, whoa, this is a huge arena. Like I need to bring a big show and fireworks and get a 12-piece band to match the stage. He was like, no, I'm just gonna do my shit. I'm gonna play acoustic. It really shifted some things for me when I was playing guitar. I was like, I need to be able to own what I do, just me and the guitar. And it gave me a lot of confidence watching him.
Yeah. I used to play that like every day, and like to the point now, every time we put YouTube on, it like goes right back to it. Eventually, it finds it.
It knows what you like.
Yeah. But it was just like just being able to see somebody, even in the studio, and I know how like with timing is so. It's so for me it's so difficult, but to see the timing that somebody has to loop and continuously loop, I'm like, yo,
that shit's crazy. To loop live, and of course they mess it up every now and then, but to most of the time, building those loops live is crazy.
Using the guitar as a percussion as well.
Insane.
It's like
so sick.
But even just seeing that and seeing other people out there that are doing loops or what have you, and what's available within technology now to be able to make the show yours, and people to say, hey, did you see Good Valley?
That's what I want.
I can't wait to
see
what you come up with.
I want to melt people's brains when we play live because it's super synth heavy. Like I want the electronic sounds to melt your brain.
Yeah.
So show up on mushrooms.
Yeah.
With the helmet on.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a funny statement, but like my music before, like my music has always come from me. Like my friends who know me, when they hear it, they go, that sounds like parts of you. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
When my friends heard Good Valley, like the friends who really know me and heard the whole EP, like it was such a validation. One of my closest friends was like, dude, like this sounds like all the parts of you that I know. And part of that is like mushrooms. Like my music before didn't sound like drugs at all.
That's such a perfect way to describe it.
But Good Valley, there's some drugs in there. And there's some drugs in me.
And there'll be drugs in you. It's an experience.
It's what it is, man.
So you said you had to kind of reinvent your writing style as well.
Fully.
And this, which you have.
Yeah.
And just seeing this new version is so exciting. What are some of the themes within this first EP? And are they similar to the themes maybe in your life's film?
Yeah, man. Yeah. This EP, yeah, and kind of the last couple years. The EP is called Brief Romance, and I've been single for 5 years, but I'm not a successful fuck boy, you know, because I have feelings.
Yeah.
But I haven't wanted to be anyone's partner for 5 years, but I still want to get to know people. I still want love and intimacy. It does lead me into situationships, right? But not in the way where like I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I do. I just can't. I can't give that promise. I can't give that expectation because of where I'm at in my process right now and in my life right now. So I don't know. The EP, each song is kind of exploring a different aspect of love, sex, intimacy, romance. I mean, anybody, the first song I dropped, that's probably the most vulnerable one, is like, is that thing of when you've been heartbroken and you want to open up again, but you're so fucking scared, you know, you're so unwilling to be hurt like that again.
Yeah, why would I do that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. He was in that stage when we first met. Still, he was healing. He was in the healing stage, and I was like,
and I had just gotten to the point. I had just gotten to the point where I was super open with everything too. But then it became somewhat trauma dumping.
Yeah.
And then
somewhat. Yeah. Somewhat. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, same thing for me. But I, luckily, based on where I was at that time, I knew I didn't want this to fleet. But I also didn't. I also knew that I wasn't ready to jump into something. I didn't want this to turn into a rebound. Yeah. So I was like, let me communicate this to you so that you at least know where I'm at. Yeah. Because in the past, fuckboy Mark, successful fuckboy Mark, would have been like, what do you mean? I just didn't call her again. Just don't call her. Well,
right.
Yeah. But right. You get too evolved for that.
You hope. You hope. Yeah. You know, men out there fucking get too evolved for that.
Yeah. Get to 30.
Because that's how I feel. Is like, at least communicate it. If you're in a bit of a mess and there's going to be some, don't let it be miscommunicated. At the very least, communicate it and know yourself and know what it is for a woman to love you. Like know what's going to happen to them. Know that it's like you do have to take care of their feelings, you know?
Yeah.
It's a responsibility.
Yeah, there's a responsibility there to, at the very least, communicate and be honest with where you're at.
And that's why you wrote these songs, so you could, hey, by the way,
check out.
It's not going to work out.
By the way, listen deeper.
Just put your soundtrack in your Hinge profile, and it speaks for itself.
You're not on Hinge. No.
Nah, I'm not on the maps.
Yeah,
you know?
But yeah, good on you to put it out there. Is it hard to put it out there for you these days, or is it mostly? Yeah, is it you want to? You're available to put that out.
Yeah, I'm so open, especially with my podcast. Like,
yeah,
I mean, it preceded my podcasts, but now it's locked in. But I don't know when. I don't know if I've always been, but at some point I just started being really open. I don't have another way of being. Like, even online, that's sometimes a fucking dance, is knowing how open I want to be on social media. Because like being open to the masses is different than being open with people. But I don't know how to turn it off. So I'm just gonna do me. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna create what I want to create. I'm gonna be good to the people in my life, and I'm gonna put shit out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, there's there's days when I leave recording Ned's pod. There's days when I leave recording that podcast where I just feel so raw and vulnerable because we were just so open with each other for hours, you know, and I know it's gonna go out to the public, which is a frightening thing. And I feel this like vulnerability, but not in a way where I'm like trying to call the editors and say, cut that out or cut that out. I'm like, this is me.
Yeah.
So fuck it.
Yeah, that's why I feel like that's the closest we can get to being a superhero in our own lives, is to be that open and honest, especially when you're in the public's eye.
Yeah.
I spoke at a high school last week, and when I left, I was like, maybe I didn't need to tell them about sleeping in my car, and like maybe they're not ready to hear that.
No,
right?
that's the good
yeah,
shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm so open about my entire life.
Yeah.
Even before I left, she was like, hey, just I was like, she's like, what are you going to talk about? I was like, oh, I'll probably start with this, and this. She's like, just maybe don't tell them about how you ruined your credit. And I was like,
I'm just worried about the teachers.
Yeah,
the teachers are like,
but they need that real life.
Yeah, what does he say?
Don't tell the kids how horrible it is.
But that's
outside of
real
school.
life. Tell them.
It is. And I'm so open about it to the point where mostly because I was so quiet about my life before, because I always wanted to be perceived as the golden child.
Yes.
And once I was able to break through that, which I always attribute acting class to.
Yeah.
Once I was able to break through that and I realized, wait, this is all my power.
Yeah.
Then everything changed. And now I'm same thing as you. I'm so open, but I'd much rather this version of me versus the closed off.
That's it.
Trying to pretend like everything's okay.
That's it. Sometimes I question my own openness, but because it's pouring out of me, like, yes, there are times to have a filter, but I'd rather lean on my default just being me.
Yeah.
I'm not editing myself for anybody, you know? Like, I'm just gonna tell you who and what I am, you know, and what I believe.
Yeah. Well, speaking of telling the truth and everything, every movie has its all is lost moment, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
What is
Had
that?
it.
Yeah. So
Had it.
if we're talking about 100-year-old version talking of you talking about your current life now, was there a moment in your life that comes to mind?
Yeah, man. Yeah, like, yes. And fuck, it is a cliche, but those moments do deepen your life. They do shape your character. They do, once you get through them, make you better, more compassionate, stronger, all these things. But they also are really painful, so you might come through them with some coping habits or defense mechanisms that you do have to look at. But yeah, man, mine was like a 7, how old am I? Mine was like a 6-7 year journey of the season of all is lost. When I was 25, my parents got divorced. That was the beginning of it. It was sudden. It was messy. It was life-changing. Parents got divorced. I ran out of money the next year. A major relationship that I thought was the relationship ended. I was working day jobs for the first time in my life. At a certain point, I didn't have an agent or manager in the first time in my life. Like, my career had never felt further away. Had a best friend lose his mind. Like, just this shit back to back to back to back to back. Then COVID hit. And like, COVID was this weird time. I know there's some people, it's so funny. I've talked about this before. There's some people who like lived in like Texas and Florida who like, they didn't have a pandemic. So whenever I say this, they're like, what are you talking about? Because they were just open the whole time and just living a normal life. And it's so strange that some of us like went through this major life-altering time where like you couldn't go out, and you know, our city was empty. LA was empty for a year. It was bizarre.
No traffic.
That
was probably the only bright side.
Exactly.
But you didn't know if you could go out. You're like,
and there wasn't a ton of places to go, but yes, you could drive anywhere in 20 minutes. We saw how small LA was just that time. You're like, oh my God, I can get here in 15 minutes. Normally.
I've been late every day since.
But yeah, so like whatever, COVID hit LA, it hit my life, and it started this weird process of like me both losing my mind because of everything that was happening in the world, but also starting some slow shifting, like back to myself and what I wanted and who I am, you know. And it's taken a lot of time, man. Just in this last year, and honestly, my podcasts are a part of it. They've been part of me building a foundation of what I put my energy into, what I put out online. That's helped in this last year. Like, I really feel like things have turned. That phase of my life that it felt like I couldn't get out of, feels like it's finally like turned and things are moving and opening again.
So it sounds like that was like somebody call a good Vlly.
You see?
I thought
maybe
maybe
it's got meanings.
Yeah. Meanings.
There's a lot of meanings in there, but yes, dude. Yes, it was a good Vlly, even though it was a hard time. Yeah, it was strange, man, for so many years. Like, anytime I would try and put myself back together and try and get something going, something else would come along and just fucking knock me back down. And it kept happening like year after year. It was daunting.
Yeah.
Like, it was daunting.
I bet.
How
Yeah.
did you pull yourself out of that?
You know, that, like, part of it was that process of like getting knocked down by something, taking the hit, feeling what I needed to feel, going to therapy or whatever, like starting to work out, you know, doing the things to try and build myself back together in some way, try and start living again, try and start creating things again, get on top of it, and then something else coming along. And just that cycle for, 7 years of like trying to take the hit, take the trauma, feel what I need to feel, integrate it, come back to my life, try and come back to myself, try and come back to my courage, try and come back to my creativity, try and come back to my compassion, get back in there on my life, take the hit. Like, it was that just for so long. But in that process, man, like, I learned my boundaries, learned what my yeses and nos are, learned how to stop being a fucking people pleaser, learned how to really be honest with people in relationships, like, got closer with certain people in my family, got closer with certain friends. Like, it was a time that shaped me. Now looking back, I'm like, I'm grateful for it. It shaped me. I'm a deeper version of myself and a bigger version of myself because of it. But man, it wasn't fun.
Like, would have preferred maybe 2 years of that.
Yeah, because it was really ongoing. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to look at your life and go like, I don't know. Everything I worked for feels like I can't access it. That was the hardest thing, was like, now my family's gone. That gave everything for me to live this dream. This dream now feels inaccessible to me. And we all believed it. The reason my family did this thing was because they believed in me and that I could do it. And I was doing it and I had it. And now it's gone. Like, now I can't even find it. And they're gone. And what happened? You know, like,
could I have avoided this?
Yes.
What did I do wrong? Yeah.
Yeah, all that. Like, looking at what the fuck happened and how do I get where I want to go again? And man, luckily life opens up again. You know, we go through seasons where things contract and where things expand.
Yeah. When you get through something like that, you really understand, like, wait, I can get through anything at that point. Because that's something that a lot of people don't even have to go through that, or don't go through that journey, and they don't become whoever they're supposed to become, or they avoid that, or what have you.
Facts. I think some people, God bless your life if it never reaches your doorstep, but you will be insulated from part of your own humanity when shit like this doesn't reach you, or when you're constantly avoiding the feelings of it. Yeah.
It really develops you, and you become that person. I think Jordan Peterson says something about you want to become the person you can rely on at a funeral.
Yeah.
So other people, if you're that developed to the point where everybody goes, tragedy is going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
In your lifetime. if you stay alive long enough.
Yeah.
And if you're that person where most other people don't get to that place.
No, it's hard. It's hard to decide or to have it in you to like, to be that person who, even when shit is so fucking rough around you, that people can count on you to be a human. Just be a human.
Yeah,
be a person.
You still have to grieve as well.
For sure, but like be there. See the humanity. Seek the humanity.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I have learned a lot from Jordan Peterson at a certain time in my life, but also that guy says a lot of fucking dumbass shit.
It's
sad. It's sad.
It's tricky.
That man has disappointed me.
Yeah. Most recently, or
the last few years, I'm like, oh, fuck this shit.
It's so hard to go to wholeheartedly follow some of these, speakers, all the way.
Yeah.
Right? Like die hard. I'm trying to be like, how the Trump fans are just so die hard for Trump, even when he says like
the craziest
some smart
shit
and then some crazy stupid shit. Like why? What is that? Like I don't think those exist anymore.
Yeah. You don't get to. No, everyone's flawed. You gotta like take what you take and leave what you leave. But yeah, Peterson's. He says some dumbass shit.
Gary Vaynerchuk, I guess. he's someone we can follow.
He's pretty on point. I'm a big Gary Vee guy.
No, but that point is so valid. And if any of you out there like have the strength to do it, yes, like make yourself reliable, make yourself formidable. I have always tried to be that in my life. Like even when my family was falling apart, like I talked to everyone through it. Like I wasn't just in my pain saying fuck off everyone. Like I was checking in with my whole family the whole time. And honestly, like I'm pretty close with everybody because of that. You do find out, I will say, you do decide your character and find out your character when shit's hard, not when shit's good. It's easy to be a fucking nice guy when your whole life is like lovely and going smooth and you got money and there's no conflict. Like, easy to be like, no, I'm a good person. Like I care about people or whatever those values are. You'll see what your character is when shit's really hard. Like, do you show up? Do you show up then? Do you show up well then? Do you show up compassionate then?
Probably not right away.
Probably not.
That's the thing too. And like, going through those things and realizing and being able to reflect and say, oh fuck, I fucked that up. I wasn't who I wanted to be in that moment.
Yeah.
Let me not be that person in the future. And then still happens a little bit. Like I thought I fucking learned that. Why am I still not that person? And like, that's what I think a lot of times, even in entrepreneurship and something that Jai and I talk about a lot is like everybody that's successful has gone through a lot of the ups and downs of the business. And like, we all wish you could just start a business and like, wow, we're thriving. And like with your career as well. It's like,
yeah, man.
Wow, that would be, but at the end of the day, you will learn. And that future version of yourself looking back is going to understand the peaks and valleys that you're going to go through.
Yeah. It's so fucked up. It's so fucked up. Cause like, now that I'm through this time in my life and like it really feels stable, moving in the right direction, I look back at the fucking hell I was feeling for years and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. All the rejection, failure, all the no's, all the things I thought were it that weren't it. Now I'm so glad. The music I'm making is the best music I've been making in my life, and I'm fucking stoked about it. If my old music went where I wanted it to go, I wouldn't be making this music.
Yeah.
Like, if the Neds reboot that I wanted to happen and pitched happened when I wanted it to, first of all, it would have got fucked up by the strike, and I wouldn't have my podcast that I fucking love and that I own and is mine and is real, right? Like, these things that were no's that hurt, that I thought were gonna solve my life, that took time to fucking process. Now that there's some time passed, I can look and go like, fuck, I'm glad they didn't happen. But damn it, at the time I was so upset.
And I think that having those experiences too, now as you're trying to, pitch other projects or what have you, when it doesn't go through, or like, we had an option recently, like, oh my God, this is going to be the one we're going to make. We finally getting our shot. And then, but luckily based on trial and error for so many years. When at the end of the option, it didn't go through. We're like, all right, we're going to take it next. We're going to do versus like, I love this version of me, but I also hate that I don't know how to celebrate because I just stay here no matter what.
Okay.
And like I'll go up and down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love it because I don't celebrate big wins. So I don't
you don't go too low when it's losses. But you got to celebrate a little bit.
Yeah. Which,
because
working on it.
Because life is hard work and pursuing dreams, pursuing entrepreneurship, trying to make something out of nothing is hard, steady, energetic work. So if you don't celebrate the wins, like you're just...
Was it worth it?
Yeah, like you're just going to burn out. You're just going to miss... You got to celebrate.
Yeah.
Got to celebrate. But I get it. If you celebrate super big, the next loss is maybe going to hit you a little harder because for a moment you felt on top of the world.
Yeah.
It's complicated, man. It's complicated.
Were you always optimistic?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was optimistic because life showed me I should be. I didn't even know it as optimism. Life was good.
Yeah. Interesting.
I had a nice childhood and had a nice family. My parents supported my dreams. My dreams, second pilot season in LA, booked Neds, right? Like my life was positive. It was proof that like, oh, dream, do it. But really it was also like opportunity, luck. Thank God my parents were who they were. Right, like there was a lot that came into it. But so I was very optimistic growing up. And I was optimistic, I'll say, out of inexperience and naivete, right? Like I didn't know any better.
Uninformed optimism.
I was uninformed optimistic. Now I'd say I'm not an optimist. I'd say I'm a realist now. And part of that includes the reality that things can get better and that there's things worth putting your time into and that there's hope for things. And part of that includes the reality that some situations are fucked. I don't find myself to be an overwhelming optimist anymore. Because I learned. I think you should stay positive. You have to. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're an artist, you must believe in your dreams.
Yeah.
Because that's foundational to making them happen. Like literally it's step one.
You have to be the first believer.
Yeah, you have to believe it can happen or it really fucking won't. So it's like, I'm not saying I don't believe in shit.
Yeah.
But just tacking optimism onto things and telling people when they're in a hard moment, hey, bud, things are going to get better, even if they will. Not the time, you know? Like,
that's something I had to work on, or still am working on, because I'm like, dude, and it's so easy for me to say that in that moment versus just listening.
Like find the bright. It's always find the bright side of every moment when you just want to live in the dark. Sometimes,
sometimes things are dark. Like, yes, we'll see the bright side again. It will reveal itself, but some moments are dark, and that's the difference. Like, I used to be Mr. fucking Brightside. And you know, I had never experienced fucking depression until I was 25. Like not real depression. So when people would bring depression to me, I would empathize with them so much because I do care about people and I could imagine what they're feeling. But ultimately I was like, but you just gotta
not be depressed.
Yeah.
Just
but
don't.
what about, have you tried gratitude? And they're like,
you're probably just dehydrated.
Yeah. Have you tried water and saying thank you? And then I experienced what depression is. And I'm actually glad it happened because I remember in my depression having that awareness of all those times I thought you could just positivity your way out. And I was like, oh, Devon, no, bud. Like, this is going to take me years to get out of. Like, there's nothing. I asked myself in those moments, I was like, or I saw it, like, there is nothing anyone could say to me right now that would make me feel better. And if anyone tells me, well, at least you had 25 years with your family, I'm going to fucking kill them. Like, oh my God. Don't bring me the bright side of my devastation. We'll get there. There's a time for that. But Jesus, the amount of people who want to skip over uncomfortable moments or skip over grief or skip over positivity is reality. but so is the fucking darkness. So the people who want to skip over that all the time because it's uncomfortable, you're missing out on literally half of your humanity and half of the humanity of the world.
Yeah, yeah. I literally, I had this same moment. And I remember walking, I was at my parents' home. I was staying there for 2 months going through a breakup. And I remember walking up the stairs after it got really bad into the fucking, it was about to be me and Jimmy Fallon on the late night show going like, oh, fuck, this is what people talk about.
Yeah.
And I remember just trying to distract myself. Also, I wonder if you do this too as an artist. When you're going through those dark moments, do you take notes in the moment?
Sometimes I do a little journaling, a little reflection.
I'm literally, I remember like grieving,
Remember
like
this
tears
moment.
are pouring.
Remember this
I'm
pain.
literally like, notice how you are right now. I'm like, dude, can I just be human for a second?
No, because that's part of
Yeah.
being an artist is
Yeah.
needing to express in all moments,
But
and
if-
needing to reflect in all moments.
But
you
if I
know?
didn't have that moment in those 2 months, maybe even 6 months of like really rediscovering who
Yes.
I was, nothing afterwards would have happened. I'm so grateful for it. In the moment, worst thing ever, fuck this. But now, yeah, as you look back to it, and that's one thing now is if somebody's going through something or trying to still understand where I was in that place
Yeah.
versus it's so far away that, yeah, I got through that though. It's fine.
Yeah,
It was-
you're gonna get through it.
Yeah. Can't do it.
Yeah, I think grief, which is universal and unskippable. Grief is an unskippable emotional process. It is going to happen to all of us many times throughout our lives. It will happen from violence. It will happen just from something changing when you didn't expect it. A job loss really quick. Like that will create this little process in you. And grief, man, I think is one of the, it being so universal, it bothers me how little we're educated on it, how little we have space for it in society. You know, in the US, it's like your fucking mother dies, and if you have a regular job, like you got 3 days to handle all the funeral shit, deal with all the bureaucracy of someone dying, which is like you have to make a million decisions on a million things. You go to the funeral, everyone cries, shakes hands, and then you're expected to be like back to work. That's insane. Like grief is a process, and like I said, it's unskippable. It's gonna take however long it's gonna take, and often it's longer than we have time for. And my own relationship with my grief and feeling it, thank God I'm an actor and an artist, I have to feel it. It's deepened me. I'm glad I have a good relationship with my grief. When it starts, I kind of know how to get myself through the process of it and really be with myself through it. I don't think most people do. And because it's unskippable, it will then come out in weird ways. Someone will have an insane, disproportionate reaction to something because they never grieved the loss from 10 years ago. I see it in so many family members. I see it in so many addicts. I see it in everyone. Like, if you don't make space for your grief will distort your life. And I just want more people to get into their experience of grief and be willing to open it up. And if you need to talk to a therapist, talk to a therapist. If you need to reach out to community, reach out to community.
Yeah, and that's that flip I think that happened later in my life too. Once you make that flip and you do want to understand yourself more.
Yeah,
and that's my favorite thing about therapy is going there and discussing certain things and figuring out, oh, that does make sense that that's how I operate now because of that thing that I just pushed under the rug.
Yes.
And now as you go through new things, let me figure out this moment versus sweeping it under the rug and then tackling it 20 years later.
In therapy. Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you deal with it at the time, I mean, it's hard, but you'll at least be dealing with it at the time. It's actually easier because it's right there. It's
fresh,
clear.
yeah.
When you're dealing with grief 10 years later, it's unclear. The memories aren't clear, but the feelings are still fucking in there.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. And don't judge. Like, I find people judge their grief. Like, yeah, grief will come from a breakup. It should. It's hard, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like the, what is it? Like the grief Olympics or like the oppression Olympics. Like, it's not everyone has it and it's important to them. Like, you don't have to judge like, oh, well, I shouldn't grieve my shit because there's worse grief out there. Like, no. Deal with it, man.
Got to deal with
Deal with it.
It's so funny you brought up working a 9 to 5 and having grief is so different. I lost my grandpa a couple years ago, and I was working at a job, and I literally was so afraid to miss work. And they did not make me feel. I mean, I called when I heard and everything, and they're like, "Okay, take your time." And then the text, "When are you gonna be back to work?"
See you
And
Monday?
I had to go to the funeral on Zoom in my uniform in the back room before my shift, and I'm bawling. And he's like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "Well, you said I needed to come to work."
Dude.
And then you don't have time to grieve after that.
Exactly.
Because you're being rushed to get back to real life so
Dude.
quick. So yeah, that's such a real feeling.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's deep. Like when it's not happening to you, you see someone lose a grandparent and you're like, oh yeah, that's sad. But like, it's a big process. When I lost my last grandmother, like she was the last of my grandparents. Like I had to grieve her. And then there was just this big new sensation in my life of like that generation in my family is gone. And that makes you ask questions about yourself. What's to come? Who am I? Who can I be for them? Like it's a big process losing a grandparent. And plus, if your grandparent loved you, which mine did, like this person has shown me love since I was a fucking baby. And that's what I remember. And now they're not here. Like, it's big. It's a bigger process than just, oh, okay, we had a funeral. Everyone hugged for one day.
Yeah.
And now I'm gotta answer fucking emails about something I don't give a shit about in this moment.
Gotta hit sales. Gotta hit sales.
Exactly.
Gotta hit sales. Oh my God.
I
I still ended up being top seller though. Yeah. Just want to say that.
Formidable. Formidable. Yeah. A crazy one in my life. So the summer of 2019, I told you guys I opened up for Seal. This was the biggest thing that had happened to me in my music career, was getting the chance to open for Seal. Biggest shows I had ever done. I did 2 shows. It was a huge moment, like for months of prep, right? Like I prepared. I was like, all right, vocal lessons, practicing every day, building my set, building my confidence, like I said, to own that I'm gonna just be me and a guitar in a stadium or in a theater of 2,500 people. Like I need to own my belief in myself that I'm enough. So months of prep leading up to this. My first show is at this venue outside San Jose, California. It's this beautiful outdoor venue, like up on a hill. It's this winery. If you know it, it's incredible. My set goes great. Seal's set is incredible. I've listened to Seal my entire life. Like it was incredible. That night, I'm standing on top of this hill after the show. I'm with my best friend, and I'm like, wow, that was like a big moment for me. That was really beautiful. And then I got a phone call from my sister that my grandmother had died.
Oh my God.
That same night, like I was literally and metaphorically on a high, but I was literally up on a mountain, like looking at the lights of San Jose, feeling so grateful for this opportunity I just had and that I did well in it. And then that call, and it was just like, oh, fuck. Like, oh, fuck. Okay, so no time for the high. Now it's time to feel my life again. Man. And yeah, man.
Isn't it wild how just things can just be here and then so quick change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially like what you had been going through at the time already. And then it's almost like a looking out like come on.
Dude, literally, that was the feeling of like, that was that time that I'm talking about where I kept trying to find it. And any win would then be like, and here's this. And that was one of them. I was like, wow.
How do you not feel unlucky or like, how do you not feel like the universe is just stacked against you at that point?
You do, like I did feel like that, of course, I'll say, of course that feeling came up, but I have done enough work on myself to not believe I'm a victim to the universe. Because granted, yes, that happened, but I was on a hill just opened for Seal, living my fucking dreams simultaneously, you know? So like, of course that feeling comes up of like, oh, woe is me. Like, is the universe against me? But I know it's not true. It's just, here's the complexity of life. Man. Like, you're not a victim to it. You're not unlucky. This is life. This is life. It's highs and it's lows. It's fucking opportunity and it's loss. It's creativity and it's destruction. Like, it is all of these things. And then it's about trying to become big enough or whole enough in yourself to hold that. And that's been the journey of the last few years.
That sounds like the summary of your movie. Sounds like the summary.
Dang. Yeah. So speaking of your movie,
Yeah.
what does the future look like
Yeah, man.
after we've gotten through?
We've gotten through the dark night of the soul. I'm excited. I know I'm excited, man. I got the first experience of my dreams when I was a kid, coming out to LA, becoming a successful child star actor with opportunities and amazing life happening. All of that got really far away for a time. And now I'm back on this new wave of living my dreams. And I'm really excited to see these next 10 years. I feel a lot of resolve in myself. And I'm not one thing. I'm an artist through and through. I'm gonna make music. I'm gonna act. I'm gonna make movies. I'm gonna make TV. I'm gonna write. I'm gonna support people. I'm gonna travel. I'm gonna see the world. I'm gonna help where I can. I'm gonna have a beautiful community. Eventually, I'll have a lovely family. And yeah, man, I the movie is yet to be written. People had asked me over the last few years, like, you should write a book. And I was like, no, I'm not there yet. Like, if I wrote a book from here, it's incomplete. Like, I'm not through it yet. It's the movie is undone, you know? I don't my story, the arc isn't done yet, but I really feel like I'm on the come up.
But it's gonna be fucking good.
Oh, it's gonna be fucking good. I know that. It's gonna be fucking good, man.
Dude, it's so dope to watch you do all of these different things and do everything so well.
Thanks, man.
And yeah, seeing you, because I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and maybe we met while you were processing that and going into acting class. And I was just like, oh, this guy's a fucking dope actor. I remember seeing you, seeing you. So like for you to even go back to class and refine yourself as an actor.
Yeah, all the time.
It's been really great, amazing to watch, and then now even knowing more of your story and everything too, and then looking forward to the future and with all the music and everything too. This movie's gonna be fantastic. Yeah,
shit's really good, man. When I came and did that POVs interview that you shot, like, geez, that was like peak depression. That was hard, and I can still communicate through it, but that was a rough time in my life when I sat down with Sophie. Like, She was not good, man. It's nice to sit here in a much different space, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say even like, I have a guitar here. I don't know what even.
I'm not like playing guitar these days. I told you I'm making indie music. Hold my hand, take me in, let me know I have a place again. Touch my skin, take my plans. Oh no, I don't wanna hurt again. Don't wanna hurt again. Something new, try tried and true words, more true words. I'm afraid of this, but I want to wish upon a star the way we did when we were kids. But I know that my strength comes from within, and I won't just let anybody in. I know that my strength comes from within, and I won't just let anybody in.
Where's the applause button? Hold on.
Hey.
Cool.
My goodness, man.
Little Baby Taylor is nice, you know?
Yeah, I got it because I was like, Ed Sheeran has a Baby Taylor? I'll take a Baby Taylor.
Baby Taylor's a move, man.
Dude, that was
That was great.
so fucking
Thanks.
dope, man. The acoustic version is absolutely insane too.
Yeah, get that on. I need a
Yeah.
need an acoustic.
That is the only song of my new stuff actually that was written on guitar.
Wow, dude.
It was like an old song from an old time that made sense for Good Valley. But yeah, it's the last one I wrote on guitar.
Thanks for playing for that.
Yeah, that
You're
was
welcome.
amazing, man.
Put me on the spot, my guy.
Hey, that's what we do here. Well, thank you so much for sitting at the table and blessing us with all of that.
Hell yeah, man.
EP coming out October 24th.
Brief Romance EP, Good Valley, GOOD/VLLY.
We love it, man.
And new podcasts every week. I have Growing Up with Devon, which is my podcast where I sit down and talk with people about life. That's every Tuesday. Ned's Classified Pod is every Wednesday. What else? What else am I up to?
Devon Work Harder on Instagram.
Yes, Devon Werkheiser on TikTok. Just, if you fuck with me, find me. Yeah.
Dude, I love it. I love it.
Sick,
What a
man.
way to end.
Sick.
So thank you so
Sick.
much. And yeah,
I was just gonna say this was a treat, man.
Oh.
I've been wanting to sit down. I've seen the Rodriguez project. I've seen you posting, and I'm like, oh, we got to sit down and do this.
yeah. No, I love seeing everything that you're doing and everything that we're working on. It's just like there's so much synergy there.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah,
like,
I feel like we're gonna work together on more shit. You know?
absolutely. Let's make it happen. And thank you so much, Jai Ma.
Jima official everywhere.
Hey.
Molly sitting there, Molly Gibson, the Molly Gibson, and myself, Mark Rodriguez TV, and us at Mastermynd Media everywhere. Thanks again, man. And
Hell yeah.
looking forward to it. Peace.